Are my kitty ears on straight or is my camera just crooked? I think this works. Hi everyone, I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. All right, this ran just about a day or so ago. Actually, this is being uploaded on Saturday morning, so this just ran yesterday on Friday, okay, on the Dave Ramsey show. So let's hear it for the first time together. Get your tea. And thanks so much for joining me.
Brought to you by the EveryDollar app. Start budgeting for free today. Caitlin is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hi, Caitlin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
So I guess to get short with it, I need to figure out how to essentially get my spouse. He is mentally on board with me, but not physically on board with me.
How do you become mentally on board but not physically on board? And on board with what? I'm willing to bet has something to do with money.
Not just baby steps, but financial aspects in general. He has a bit of a addiction with instant gratification.
Okay.
I take it she means instant spending gratification. That's a tough one. Because if you're on board mentally but not physically, then what that tells me is he's got all the words, oh, honey, yes, I'm on board. But when it comes to the actual action, it's no good. So he's got the words down. He's got the words down.
It's not an addiction. It's not an addiction. It's just immaturity.
That's a very good point, yes.
Yeah. How old is he?
He is the same age as me. He's 32.
Okay.
How does that manifest? What does it look like? His spending. We'll put it in addiction for quotes right now.
Sure. So he is he's got a little bit better. I'll give him that credit, but he is pretty selfish. Some examples are the family car was a decent family car, one that fits the kids. We unfortunately outgrew it, not to him knowing. But then he, instead of just leaving it as a daily, he needed to lower it, which makes it more expensive and ruins the car more. Then he needed to buy a customized steering wheel that absolutely wasn't needed. Then he needed to do this and he knew that.
I think she said that he was selfish. I'd say so far she's on board with that description, but we need to know a lot more before we can determine that. They're definitely on two different pages financially. I think we got that part down. And we did that in less than a minute and 33 seconds.
He souped up your family minivan?
Wow.
So not the minivan. It was a wagon. It was his daily that would still fit us at the time. Not anymore, but at the time would fit all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had like a daily.
What is a daily? When I don't know what I'm assuming a daily must be a vehicle. She said it's a daily. I think that's a term I've never heard of. My assumption is that she's referring to a car that they take out and drive around every day.
That would fit all of us.
And is he creating debt while doing this?
I bet he is.
Oh, I can't even argue. I can't even fathom the amount. Like being a person that before I met him, I bought my own house as a single mom. It completely destroys me. I have so much stress from everything he's done. Actually, the last year I spent curing stress seizures.
Wow.
They're not on the same page financially. They have very, very different lifestyles. Very different lifestyles. She bought her own house, she said, when she was a single woman. And now she's married, and she doesn't seem to have chosen someone who has the same lifestyle habits as she does. This is not good. Because as we all know, what's one of the number one causes of divorce? Money issues.
Wow.
Okay. You said you had children. How many?
We have 3 children. Mm-hmm. One of them is not biologically his, but he, since day one, has taken care of her like he is his. She is his, excuse me.
Okay. All right. Well, this is not a money problem. It's not a budget problem. This is a marriage problem. It's a marriage.
I would have to agree with that. I'm not even sure this is a spending addiction. Okay? If you watch my earlier videos, this to me doesn't, as someone who's had a genuine spending addiction, this doesn't sound like a spending addiction. And there is a difference between a spending addiction and somebody who wants something for just immediate gratification. to me, a lot of the difference, and this may be really hard to explain to someone who doesn't understand, anyone who, it might be hard for me to explain to somebody who isn't familiar or has no experience with someone who really, really has a spending addiction, like I used to have in my 20s. But this guy sounds more like immediate gratification, a certain carelessness, a kid-like behavior with, it's that FOMO, fear of missing out, you know, you only live once. Whereas to me, someone who has a real spending addiction, that to me is more deep-rooted in trauma, psychological past issues, history, all of that stuff. I'm not a doctor, but I can only speak from my own experience, and these two are not the same.
Problem. And so we end up backing into those sometimes through budgeting and that kind of stuff. But budgets don't control people. People control budgets. Or don't, or in some cases don't do a budget, or in some cases don't live with a budget. But budgets they don't have any magic powers. It's just simply a roadmap. Maps don't control people. You just look at the roadmap, and am I going to go down the road or not? You know.
And I'll tell you something about budgets also. Okay, this is not a style that's for everybody. This is not for everybody. I don't actually keep a budget. I haven't kept a budget in probably decades. Okay, I became debt-free September this year. Okay, I've been debt-free for about 6 weeks. I've never kept what you'd call a tight budget. In other words, you know, I don't sit down and go, okay, here's my monthly income. I'm gonna spend, I have, you know, $75 for entertainment. I have $200 for the month's food. I have $45 for the water bill, and I, you know, divvy it all up in little envelopes or little accounts. I have never, ever done that. All I typically do, and this doesn't work for everybody, okay? Even to become debt free, I don't like really strict budgets. And for me, the reason I don't like them is it doesn't give me the flexibility that I want. If I can lay out on paper, you know, what I make in a month, you know, within, you know, a few bucks, okay, I can lay out on paper. But but in my world, if I get too strict with it, like, okay, I have $83 for gas for the month, and I have $65 for my hair appointment, and these numbers can't be changed, that stresses me out. I do much better. And it may seem odd because I'm not a math person, okay? I'm anything but a numbers person. I do fine just rattling the numbers in my head. Okay, just basically going, okay, I know I have this much money that's coming in. This is the amount of paycheck I need to get rid of. Ding, 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 ding. These particular bills, this leaves me about this much left, and I'm good to go. So if I do have an impromptu lunch or a breakfast with a gal pal, I don't need to go, oh, gee, which envelope am I going to take that out of? This is not for everybody. But what I do want people to understand is you don't have to have a super strict, you know, every dollar accounted for to get out of debt. I've never had it in my entire life. Okay. And I do just fine without it. You know, my money issues weren't because of the fact that I did have a super, super strict budget. I had psychological issues that were affecting it. Now, if you are brand new to money and you have a really hard time, I shouldn't say you're new to money, but if you're new to really getting disciplined about saving money and stuff, and it helps you to have that very strict layout of, you know, this envelope for this amount, and this envelope will be, you know, will have this amount allocated to another envelope, then that's fine. Okay, I kind of look at it like people who go to the gym. Okay, I do a lot of weightlifting. Anyone who's ever watched the channel, matter of fact, this channel used to be a weightlifting channel. Okay, I used to be an exercise channel when I started, and then I changed to a reaction channel about just a little under 2 months ago when I deleted all the exercise videos. Okay, but and I still am a huge exercise fanatic. That's just what I love to do. Okay, but I do heavy weightlifting, and when I first started weightlifting, okay, as a heavy weightlifter, and this was over 10 years ago, I actually went in with a little book on the gym floor. I did 2 reps of this, 3 reps of that. I lifted 10 pounds here. I lifted 40 pounds here. In time, I didn't need that, and I don't need that book anymore. So I'd say I kept a little journal book for maybe about a year. Okay, and then after that, I let the journal book go, and now I can go in, and I know my body well enough. I know the exercises that I do well enough. I don't need a book anymore. I kind of look at budgeting like that. Some people will hold on to the book if nothing else as memorabilia. It gives them a little bit of that security factor that they can recall what they were doing, and that's totally fine. And I even encourage it for people. That's what makes you happy. But I just want people to understand you don't have to have that strict of a budget to be able to become debt free. What you have to have is you have to have significantly more money coming in than you have going out. You need to be really good at rounding up numbers, because I'm really good at rounding up numbers. Okay, your bills need to be few. All right, it's hard to do when you got, when you have 9 credit cards. Okay, so your bills need to be few and consistent. Yay. Okay, all right.
That's all a budget is. It's just a map. And so, and wives don't control husbands, and husbands don't control wives.
Yeah.
As much as they'd like to, and as much as it would be awesome if we could pull it off, we just can't do it.
In the end, everybody controls themselves. If we could control each other, then if somebody wanted to divorce, the other one didn't want to, each one could have their way. If we could control others, then parents could simply, push a button and their kids would always do the right thing, make the right decisions all the time. In the end, it's all about individual choice.
Yeah.
And so, what we've got here is, as you said, selfish and immature guy who's putting his own impulses ahead of the good of his family.
Yes, and we cannot and we should not mistaken that with someone who has a true spending addiction. These are not the same thing.
Have you guys reached out to a counselor?
That's what you need.
Yeah, yes. So we've done marriage counseling already.
I think, okay, I just listening to her. Marriage counseling is a joke for them. It's a joke. All right. I can tell right now, and we're only a couple minutes into the video. Marriage counseling, that's out. No, he's not doing it.
That I set up that then he denied.
You're
and
not
then
done.
He set marriage counseling, but he was ready. No, I know. So we've done these things because that's where it's led to. I've also
Did he
asked
go?
him, he went 2 times to the one I set up, and then he denied going because he was essentially being blamed for things, and he didn't like it. He's getting defensive, and it's like, well, not saying that I'm perfect, but, your selfish habits are creating an issue.
Okay, I'm going to stop. Hold on here. Got to back up. Okay. Now, I've said before, and I'll say it again. As much as I love women, okay, if I had to become an attorney for divorcing couples, what sex would I represent? I would represent the men. But the reason I would represent the men, and I've said this before, is because in my family, when my parents divorced, my father should have gotten custody of all 4 girls. But because of a screwed up system, all right, I believe the child support, child custody, the whole system is so against men. It is just so stacked against men that when I got older and I understood why my father could not gain custody of all 4 kids, I just remember telling myself, man, if I ever became a lawyer and I had to defend one side or the other, I would hands down defend men. Okay, because my father's an outstanding man. My late mother's an outstanding woman too, but my father would have been the better parent for all 4 girls, and I'm fortunate that he was later able to take custody of 2 of my siblings. Then I stayed with my mom and another sibling. So this is where I come from. Okay, I want to give you my POV, my point of view. All right, so here she's saying that she admits she's not perfect, but in saying that, she's also saying that the husband has a lot of faults, to the point that I get the impression that she's saying he's at fault for most of the misery that's going on. Now then, I'm going to play devil's advocate, all right? without knowing a lot about their history, without knowing any more than 4 minutes into a phone call. Is it possible? Is it possible that one, they were a mismatch to begin with, so they should have never married? They were a mismatch to begin with. Is it possible that he has become more selfish over time due to the fact that they are a mismatch and therefore neither one feels the other one hears them? Is it possible? Hold our breath on this, folks. Is it possible she's a nag? Is it possible that their mismatch has him, after so many years together, and I don't know if they said how many years together, I know they have 3 kids, okay? Is it possible that he has tuned her out? And he's at the point, and he's been at the point in his life where he says, you know what? Expletive it all anyway. I'm going to do what I want. I have an issue when someone says, or someone appears to jump to the conclusion that the woman is presumed to be more right than the man is. And this is notorious in counseling sessions. It is. I've sat in so many effed up counseling sessions, all right? It's not even funny. I never sat really in the counseling sessions with my dad, but it was usually with my late mom and my siblings. Oh, come on, people. Those were a joke. You might as well just burn the house down and say that every counseling, that most counselors will tell you the man is at fault. He's the guilty one. Yeah, the woman will take some, slide eye and say, yeah, she's a little bit guilty. But really, the guilty person is the man. I have an issue with that. I have a really, really big issue with that. And knowing that this is how she feels in a counseling session, again, I'm giving you my point of view, okay? Gives me pause, and I have to question, re-question, reevaluate. Is this man the selfish person she says he is? On the surface, it looks like it. But if we dig down, 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 deeper, 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 you can't tell me that somewhere along the line she too is not without fault. Yeah, she says in the counseling session, oh yes, I'm at fault, but he's the guilty one. He's the bigger fault than I am. All right? And that's the problem I have. That's the problem I have. Yeah, that's a big problem with me. So maybe in this instance, with this car, I can't remember what they call it. I think they call it a daily. I've never heard of a daily. I'm assuming this is a vehicle. Okay. If I'm wrong, please post in the comments. Okay. I hope it is. But perhaps this car represents their lack of compatibility, lack of communication, lack of being heard by each other. The car is just a representation of that. But if you put him with the right woman, okay, then all of a sudden the cards, the picture changes. See, when my parents got divorced, without divulging too much into their stuff because it's their private business and I pretty much protect that, I will simply say this. There's one thing that I learned about when my parents got divorced. This is the lesson that I learned. My parents got divorced because clearly they were not compatible. No, one was city, one was country. All right? Literally, one was city, one was country. Start from there and just let it all build. But what's interesting is when they remarried, my parents didn't change any at all. Nah. All they did was they changed their partner and they found people they were compatible with. And it made me realize that, you can be toxic in a relationship with one person and totally compatible with someone else. So together, she may be toxic. All right? And I've said it before, no wicked witch here. Well, that's her version. Together, they may be toxic. But put him with someone else that's a better match. And all of a sudden, that selfish part that she sees, that comes out, that disappears. In short, I guess what I'm saying is I love my father so much, and I learned so much from him about how relationships work, about how a woman can think that, the father is actually just a horrible person. Okay, now, and to be honest, my mother never said my dad was a horrible person, but, she could have said nicer things. But as I got older, I began to piece things together myself, and I began to see what I began to see a different reality. I began to form my own opinion as an adult about my father. And as I got older and I became more aware of how relationships work and perception and yada yada, all of a sudden I went, that this person, these two people, my two parents who were toxic together, all of a sudden, they, not all of a sudden, but, down the road, they remarry other people. Well, what happened to the toxic part of each one? What happened to the selfish part of each one? Oh, maybe you were just with the wrong person. And I have an issue with counseling sessions that do nothing but bash one person. Okay? So, sorry for that, slight off topic, but not off topic, but that slight, very long detour. Hey, if you watch this channel, I try not to be a reaction channel that just sits and does things like stare into the camera and open my eyes really big, okay? I actually try to give you some insight, and I try to apply my life to it. We have to pause to make sure he's really the selfish jerk that she claims he is. I'm not easily convinced.
Yeah.
Then he set up marriage counseling. He also more recently is going back to therapy for himself.
For himself,
which I asked
okay.
him to do years ago, but he is going now. And now
Is he going now because he wants to go? Is he going now because she's nagging him to go?
he is seeing and I don't remember the difference between psychiatrist and psychologist, but technically I
Okay.
guess seeing both.
So he's got a lot of stuff going on, huh?
Unfortunately, yes.
Maybe he's just attending all those meetings to get away from her. I don't know. Oh, I really don't know, but that's an excuse. Sorry, honey, gotta go. I gotta get on the couch for an hour at the psychiatrist. By the way, I never had the luxury of a couch. Why did I get a couch? I feel denied.
Yeah, the first thing you said when you said, "Hey, we went to counseling," he didn't like my counselor because this and that.
Yeah, he didn't like the counselor because that counselor did nothing but blame him for everything instead of him feeling like he was being heard. Thank you. Yeah. There are counselors, honest to God, there are counselors, that you, and I've sat in such meetings with such counselors. Their minds are already made up before you even, before the man or woman, usually before the man walks in the door.
I will say both spouses need to feel good with the counselor because, Sam and I, we've gone to counselors and it's been like, I don't like her or I didn't like him. And you do sometimes have to.
Yeah, but if you don't like them because they're telling you the truth, that's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, he also didn't like that the guy didn't get his name right a couple times, which I won't argue, whatever. But yeah, it was mostly because of he's telling him the truth and he doesn't want to hear it.
Again. Who are we hearing this story from? We're hearing it from her version. Let's see, we cannot make a judgment about this until we've heard his version. Then we take her version, then we take his version, and somewhere between there is the truth. All right? It's kind of like this. I've talked to my friends about it. I've taught 18 years. I've had 1,000 students or so, come across more than 1,000. Okay, I'm even teaching kids that I taught because their parents are now in their early 30s. Okay, and if they had a child, say at 18, 19, I now teach their kids. So I actually have covered more than one. It's kind of cool actually, to teach the parent when they were 14 and then I teach their kid. Okay, it's kind of like this. I've had a lot of students. I guarantee it to you, somebody somewhere is going to tell you I am one of the best teachers that they have ever had. Guaranteed. They're going to say, Miss Horn is so memorable. I absolutely love her. On the flip side, I guarantee you that somebody is going to say she sucks. I don't like her. I thought she was mean. I thought she was crappy. I didn't think she had any patience. Okay? I absolutely hated her. How do I know this? Because I get all the feedback from the students. Oh, this person really likes you. This person really hates you. Look, all I do is I just do my job. I teach middle school. I'm not supposed to be a middle school student, okay? It's the same thing here, okay? Are we supposed to just default and say, yep, the wife is right. The wife is right. That's it, okay? Whose version of truth are we talking about? Sure, maybe the truth hurts, but whose version of truth are we talking about? When we only get to hear one version of the truth without hearing the other one, we cannot default and say that the version we hear, the version that called in on the phone, is the truth that's right. We don't know that. So to me, it's the same thing. Talk to enough people and trust me, somebody's going to tell you I suck as a teacher. Even an adult might tell you that. Never know, right? But I guarantee you, there are going to be students. You'll find one that'll say she's great. You're going to find another one that says she sucks. Hopefully, there are more that say, that I would like it to be a high percentage that says she's good.
Yeah, that's mostly.
So he is going for himself. That's good.
I'm not convinced he's going for himself. He may be going to keep the peace in the house.
I think the hard part with this is not necessarily going to mean that next week things are different, right? Like this is something
Correct,
that's going to play out over time. And he's still actively creating debt for your family.
Sometimes I've always thought that the purpose of marriage counseling is just for at least one person to come to the acceptance that the marriage is over. Hey, I'm giving you my real life experience. Maybe you've had a better one. Oh man, did I just accidentally stop this? Hold on. Technical error. Let me pause. I think I just accidentally stopped the whole entire stream. All right, we're going to pause here while I take a tech. All right, you guys, we're back on board. I accidentally hit the forward back key and all of that stuff, so it made it go to the next video. All right, I backed it up about 20 seconds. Here we go.
I think the hard part with this is not necessarily going to mean that next week things are different, right? Like this is something
Correct,
that's going to play out over time. And he's still actively creating debt for your family at this moment in time, right? Or no, that's stopped.
Unfortunately, yes. Even though we try to work out things that, give him leniency isn't really the word.
And the debt.
Ways to have.
It would be interesting to know what his financial position was when they married, because she had purchased a house. Did she overlook signs that he's a carefree spender? Okay. Did she overlook signs on that? Because that would be very telling. Okay. She's obviously very disciplined. She, comes well financially prepared to the table. And did she just perhaps ignore that this is the type of man that she was marrying? And now she's upset and blaming him because this is who he is naturally.
If he's running these things up on credit cards, is your name on the credit card, or is it just these are cards that he's pulling out and he's doing this on his own?
So he had like one in my name that he put into collections that then I paid off because I was also on it trying to help him build credit from when we first got married.
Okay, and that one's closed.
Yep, and that one's closed. He's got 3 of his own. He hasn't touched credit cards in a couple years, and then we kind of discussed how we're going to make things work, and I asked if he was ready, and so he got a $300 limit back like 2 weeks ago.
I'm sorry, but she seems like she could be very bossy. Okay, she seems like she could be very dictator. You will do this, you will do this, you will do this, and if you don't fit into that box, then you're the bad guy. This is just the impression I'm getting. I think she said she's 32. Some could say she's just driven. Okay, driven is fine. But when you're dealing with an adult coming across like, you're the parent to your husband, that's just how she strikes me as. She sounds like, almost her way or the highway. And when you start to see that, you start to understand that his spending may be his way of pushing back, pulling you back, trying to gain some control. trying to feel like he's gaining some control. She just sounds like she would be difficult to live with. I'm just saying.
And he racked that up. Plus, he had $100 cash. So he spent $400 about 5 days.
He's trying to get his life. He's trying to get control. He feels like she's got control in all the other areas. Okay? I wouldn't want to be married to somebody who would talk to me the way she's talking on this call. Now, I understand the part of it's her frustration, yada, yada. I get it, okay? But she just sounds like she could be she runs the show. See, when you start to understand these sorts of things, and you start to dig a little bit deeper, oh my goodness.
So I took the credit card away. I was like, you clearly aren't ready.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm going to back to just 2 seconds back here. Let me hear this.
So he spent $400 about 5 days. So I took the credit card away. I was like, you clearly aren't ready. You told me you're ready.
Well, I think
I rest my case. She is the boss of the house. You will do it the way she says. If she is not happy with the way you have done it, you will be scolded, reprimanded. You will have your privileges taken away. That's a bunch of crap. He's an adult. He's an adult. See, when you start to see this, then you start to understand perhaps that is why he's behaving the way he's behaving. Adults don't need that. And men certainly don't need it. This is where we have to separate. Is he really out of control with spending? Or is he just trying to get a piece of control back that he feels like has been lost? This is why it would give us great insight as to what they were like when they were married. See, because all we're getting is from the woman is, well, I bought a house, got married, had 3 kids, and now my husband won't get in line. Oh, my Lord.
as a rule of thumb in your family in general, you need to cut up all the credit cards and no one uses them. No one uses any more credit cards. So that's thing one is.
And you can make darn sure, Jay, that she is going to make that very clear to her husband. You young man, you have no more credit cards. You have gone over the credit card limit. I can't trust you with it. I am taking your credit card. And while you're at it, give me your Xbox player as well. Because you don't have that either. Almost starts to sound kind of stupid.
Is we just don't operate on debt anymore. I mean, my screen says that, if you're in the.
If you didn't marry under that premise, then perhaps it's not going to work now. This is why I say. My experience. A lot of marriage counseling, a lot of that therapy stuff is really just to get one person to come to the realization that this isn't working out for them, and they come to accept that. That's really my experience. I would really like to know what he was like when they first met. And if she ignored the red flags and all of a sudden thought she could change him to be what she wanted, well, that's on her. That's on her.
Trying to do the baby steps, like you definitely cannot use credit cards anymore. So those get cut up. And then after that, yeah, you probably do need to have a real conversation about how his access is to this money if he's just going to go off and spend $500 and $600. I mean, that's a scary position to be in.
And while you're at it, pull the 3 kids aside and have a discussion with them about their allowance as well.
And Dave.
Caitlin, at some point, through you working with a counselor or working with his counselor, the day is going to come, and it's coming pretty soon based on the tone of your voice, that you're finally going to say something like, if we can't get on the same page with money, and you can't be a grown man and take care of your family instead of buying freaking steering wheels, then I'm not going to be able to be here anymore.
She's already said it. This is a woman who doesn't hold back. I don't see this woman. This is not a woman who's going to take her husband's hand gently and say, I'm scared, dear. I can't breathe. Oh, hell no. No. This woman's not that type. She's made it very clear to him. She's made it very clear. I have no doubt.
Because you're terrifying me. I am awake at night. I've never been in debt like this. Your out of control, childish behavior with money is terrifying me.
But if he was like that when they married, and she married him thinking she could change him, that is on her. That'd be like, it'd be like somebody marrying me and thinking, well, if I marry Carrie, then maybe in time I can get her cut down on, going to the gym. Maybe she won't go to the gym on her birthdays, or maybe she'll take a month off. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And anyone who ever has known me, the gym, where we could be on a cruise ship, plane, train, automobile. I'm finding my way to the gym. I don't care if we travel halfway across the world. I will find my way. I will find my way to a gym. And it's kind of like somebody who thinks, well, if you marry me, and you know that I love to go to the gym on Saturday and Sunday mornings. You know that I don't sleep in. I rarely sleep in because I'm usually headed out to the gym by 10 o'clock or so. And you get upset because you want the woman who lounges in bed on Sundays and rolls open the newspaper at 8, 9 o'clock, and maybe crawls out of bed around 11, 12, has a little light breakfast, and then lounges on the couch. Wait, you're looking at the wrong woman. Okay, this woman's usually up, around 9 o'clock after my Walmart delivery at 8. Okay, 9 o'clock. I change the bed sheets usually about every other day. I change my pillowcase every day. Then I head to the gym. I am rarely at home on a Saturday, Sunday skipping the gym. I skip the gym so rare on the weekends, I can pretty much count it on one hand. And then they wonder why I'm not lounging in bed till 10, 11 o'clock. I don't lounge in no bed at 10, 11 o'clock. I got a barbell waiting for me. In other words, if she married him with these habits, these spending habits already ingrained in him, but she thought she could change him, well, she's not going to change him and his personality and the way he sees money. All right, even with him having kids, this is who he is. If this is who he is, and you married him in that condition, you're not going to change him. This is who I am. I'm an exercise fanatic, especially on the weekends. Okay, you're not going to change me. I'm all yours after I'm done with the gym. It's just I got to get there first. Once I get that done, then I'm all yours. So how much of her married him expecting to change him, thinking she could change his habits, right?
I can't live like this. So
She thought she could, and that's why she married him. She thought she could change him.
if you can't be a grown man and learn to control your impulses, you're not a 12-year-old little boy. You're acting like one. But if you can't be a grown man and we can't get a...
Maybe she acts like the Wicked Witch of the West. Maybe she was bossy from day one. Maybe she tries to run the roost instead of listening to what he wants and compromising. Maybe she has no sense of humor whatsoever. Hey, I'm just pulling in life experience.
a bead on. We're going to manage our income together for the good of this family. That will include you doing some fun things and me doing some fun things.
But she will determine what those fun things are, how much those fun things will cost, and when they are done.
It's going to include being a freaking responsible grown-up.
Yeah.
And if we can't get to that point, I'm not going to be able to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe he is a responsible grown-up, but he has to do it with the right partner. I can guarantee it to you, my mother would have said in certain ways that my father was not responsible. My father was incredibly responsible. Like I said, my father should have had custody of the 4 kids. Hands down, he should have had it. But if you took it from, and again, love my late mother, but if you took all the stories from her angle, my dad, you thought, oh my God, he can't take on 4 kids. Turns out he would have been the best parent by football fields. He would have been it. This is why I don't fall for this crap so easily. I can't. My life experience does not allow me to fall for just what one woman says on one call with two people she's trying to, what should I say, with two people she thinks she has in her corner. My life experience does not allow me to bow down and say, oh yes, she's right. I can't do it.
You need the guidance of a good counselor on how to say that and when to say that.
Oh, I don't think she has a problem on how to say it when she says it. And she doesn't strike me as the type that's going to listen to somebody else tell her that.
I'm not suggesting you hang up the phone and say Dave Ramsey said that.
Sure.
But I'm
Yeah, Mr. Ramsey wants nothing to do with this. Like, hey, don't blame me for your marital troubles. I love this show. I've been watching this show for ages, years and years and years and years and years.
telling you, if you do not get there systematically and begin to put that in front of him, one day here's what's going to happen. And I know this because I've counseled thousands of couples.
The marriage will end. They'll each go their own ways. They'll each find people they're actually compatible with and realize, oh crap, we were toxic to each other. It wasn't just one person being toxic, because we were toxic to each other.
You're going to have that little switch that particularly ladies have down inside them.
Not all ladies have it. It's just like not all women initiate divorce. I did not initiate my divorce, not by a long shot. We cannot generalize here.
And it's going to blow a fuse.
Not all ladies.
And you're going to be done. And
Not all ladies. I'm just simply saying, you know. I didn't blow a fuse and go, that's it, you're out of here and I'm taking the house with me. No, I did not do that.
no amount of talking and no amount of cajoling and no amount of logic and no amount of preachers and no amount of nothing is going to get you back in the marriage. You're going to wave bye-bye.
She's already gone out of this marriage. This is a do it her way or else marriage. And something tells me it's been that way a long time. We cannot. This is like when this call ends. Well, we got half the story now. I need to hear the other half. I need to hear the other half.
Because you're going to blow a gasket and you will have had it. And I've tried to reel these ladies back in after they've blown it and show them that the guy he gave in. He gave in too late. She's gone. All you see is her back walking away. She's done.
Okay, I've had enough of this. All right. There we go.
You wait. You just kept on. You kept on.
All right. If I didn't know any better, if I did not have the experience with my father that I had and my parents' marriage, I would believe everything this woman said. This father, this man, is careless. He's reckless. He's irresponsible. He doesn't care about his family. She is the sole person doing all the work to make this marriage work, to make it financially work. And if it wasn't for her efforts and everything she's done, this marriage would be a worse failure than it already was. He better get in line. He better get his SHI together. And if it's not met at the level that she deems to be appropriate, then he's out of here. And I'm sorry, I can't buy that. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you will consider subscribing, and you have a great night. Actually, by the time this is uploaded, it'll be Saturday morning. I believe November, what day is it today? November 9th? November 10th? Oh, it's one of those days. November 9th or 10th. It's Saturday. Right around there, okay? All right. So have a great day. Bye.